Welcome back to the next segment on how to use PaintShop Pro, and we're going to learn a couple new tools. We've already been through several of them, and I just want to remind you that behind each tool where you see an arrow, there's another set of tools there. Sometimes there's several, like this. These tools don't have that, the dropper tool and the cropping tool. And when we get down to this tool, which is the straighten tool and the perspective correction, that one has two tools behind it because of this little arrow. So if you don't see the arrow, that means there's probably not any tools behind it, right? Basically, what the eyedropper tool will do is it selects colors. If we go over to our materials palette over here, you'll see there's all these different colors, and materials basically could have been called colors. I think because competing software packages called it colors, they wanted to be different, so they called it materials. But basically, it's colors. And whenever you use the eyedropper tool and click on one of those colors, you notice that this box changes. This is your foreground color. This is your background color. Now, this will really come into play when you start using strokes and doing text. But for now, just know that whatever's in here is going to be the color that you will see when you use a paintbrush. Okay? And I'll show you how that works in a second. But basically, any color you pick is what's going to be in that box. All right? There are several different views that you can look at here for your materials. Of course, you have these little squares. And you can go further down the color grade by doing this, the different colors. You can also click on this one. This shows gradations. And you can move a slider like this to go through all the different colors. And then this one here is like a grayscale. But you can also do RGB, so forth. So you have sliders, basically, on that one. So there's a lot of different ways to pick colors using this program. But the other thing that the eyedropper tool will do is it will select colors from your picture. So for example, let's say I'm going to pick this orange brown color over here. I click on it, you'll notice my materials box has changed for that. If I click on this, I don't know what color this is, grayish color, it'll change to that color. If I click on the sky, it changes to the white, right? So that's pretty obvious. And to show you how this is going to be of good use to you, is we're going to have to skip down a couple tools and just use the paintbrush for a second. I'm going to go in more depth on the paintbrush in another lesson. But I'm going to click on the paintbrush, and you'll see that I have a little brush there. It's a little circle, right? But I'm going to go back to my dropper tool, and I'm going to say, look, there's a blemish on my picture. It's a red blemish, or pink blemish, magenta, whatever. It's right there, and I don't like the way that looks. I want it to match this. So one of the easy ways to fix that, especially when you're dealing with flat colors and there's no gradations in here, there's no bricks or anything, the easiest way to fix it is just use your paintbrush. So I'm going to click from a color close to that. Now I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit so you can see it better. And I'm going to click on a color close to this. Okay? So I clicked right next to it. Now you'll notice in my materials box that's the color selected. Now I'm going to use my paintbrush. And remember, we're going to go into all the nuances of the paintbrush later on. But I'm going to click on that. And you'll notice that I can color this out. Watch. Because I've got this selected in my materials. And there you go. It's like it never existed in the first place. Right? So that's what the eyedropper tool can do for you. If I wanted to take out this little statue, I'll demonstrate one more time. I'll click on my eyedropper. Let's say I wanted to remove this guy here, right? I'm going to click the color closest to it. I click next to it. I look over here. Okay, the same color is selected here. Now I'm going to take my paintbrush and I'm going to paint it out. I just removed one of the statues. There's another way of doing this. It's a lot better, but that works pretty good. Okay, let me go back now. So that's how you use that tool. Now the next tool down is cropping tool. And I love using this one because it makes the job so much easier. To use the cropping tool, all you got to do is click on the cropping tool and draw a square around the part that you want to keep. You'll notice a little toolbar opens up down here. Now there's a lot of different options. You got freeform. You can tell it to just do a square. That's the way you want it. You can tell it to do original proportions, last applied, so forth. Specific sizes, right? So I'm going to go with original proportions, and you can also tell it, now this bar will either be at the bottom or top depending on the way you're looking at your picture, but it's always going to be there. And you can turn on a grid if you want to. This is your clear button. Let's say you don't want to select anything, you click on that, nothing's there. Right? Let's say I just want to crop this section of the building. So I pull my little square down, and then in order to apply this, you just go apply. And there you go. It'll crop everything out. And that's real useful when you've got a picture of a person and you don't want everybody else in it. You just crop around that person and that's all you have. Okay? So that's the cropping tool. Pretty darn easy. Another tool to work with is the straighten and perspective correction. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that you've got a picture that's crooked. Well, with the straighten tool, which is the one that's selected here, you can straighten this picture out pretty darn easy. This tool works really well, I think. So you drag your line here, and you drag the other part of your line there, and you say, okay, I want that to be straightened out. And once you get it in place, double click on it, and it straightens it out. Now I didn't do a super duper job on that, so let me try to straighten it out a little bit more. See, and it straightens the picture out pretty darn good. The other tool that's underneath the straighten tool is the perspective correction. Let's say that you wanted to make this building flat. In other words, perspective is these lines going off into the distance here. Okay? But what if you didn't like this and you just said, hey, I want this to be flat, to make it look like you're looking straight at it, not at a perspective. Well, all you have to do is line this up in the perspective box like this. And then you, once again, up here in the toolbar options palette up here, you've got cancel, which would get rid of this box, and apply. So I'm going to click apply. Watch what it does. It flattens the building out. Flatten this thing out and make it look like you're looking right at it. So that's what that tool does. And that's the next batch of tools that I wanted to show you. In my next lesson, I'm going to show you how to use this red eye tool as well as the cloning tool, and then we're going to get into the paintbrush. There's quite a bit to these, and they're rather exciting and a lot of fun to work with. So I'll see you on the next video. Don't forget to practice what you've learned on here and to try it out yourself, because that's the only way you'll really remember it is by doing it. God bless.